everyone, welcome to the inaugural episode of Lost by Laura, my new passion project to distract from the fact that I'm 30 years old and back living with my parents. I'll start off by giving you a bit of a background on what this channel is all about. I'll get into a bit about myself and my background and why I'm doing this. So let's dive in. My name is Laura. I just turned 30 years old last month, and while I think I did pretty great in my 20s, I'm more excited for my 30s because I kind of picture my 30s as setting up for what the rest of my life will look like. In my 20s, I lived selfishly, which I think is the way you should live your 20s. I traveled to 60 countries, got an undergraduate degree in engineering, started my career in said degree. I even managed to buy a condo before I got priced out of the market completely. Lots of fodder for foundational life building there. In particular, in the last couple years, I've dabbled in sailing. Growing up, the ocean was an hour away, and I was more drawn to the lakes and mountains, so I didn't have any exposure to sailing. I actually didn't know anyone who had ever sailed or had even set foot on a sailboat before. It was 2022, and I was brainstorming ideas with my mom on what I wanted to do. You see, I had my professional engineering designation coming up, where I would become a fully licensed engineer. To me, that meant settling into my career path, which would be fine, but I had this sinking feeling that I would blink and 5 years would pass and I would be sitting at the same desk doing the same job. So I wanted to plan to take a year off work after I got my PEng and go traveling. I was thinking maybe an MBA in a foreign country or teaching English abroad, and I was dancing between the two ideas when my mom piped up and said, "Have you ever considered sailing?" Which, no, I hadn't. You see, she found a small YouTube channel of these two girls who had bought a sailboat and would sail it around the Caribbean with their friends. And she wanted me to try something like that. And I said yes, because that is something you will learn pretty quickly about me. If an opportunity comes up, I usually take it. So I emailed the girls, and after about 6 months of emailing back and forth, they agreed to take me on and told me to book a one-way ticket down to Puerto Rico, where I got on the Belafonte and sailed around the Caribbean as a part of sea sondering. Those 2 months were an amazing learning curve, learning how to live and survive on a sailboat. We even raced Antigua Sailing Week, which in itself is quite a feat. I had an incredible, life-changing time on that boat, but it was tough. We had no toilet, no shower, no AC, no internet, no navionics, no electric winches, and even for the most part, we had no autopilot. It was sailing at its core. I would go to bed every night in the leaky V-berth, exhausted and grateful. I walked away from that opportunity knowing that I didn't want to do it again. Or at least I couldn't think about doing it again for another 6 months. I needed time to recover from the trauma. Yet, only a couple months later, I was hanging out with the girls when they mentioned the sailor they had met in Trinidad, who had asked if they wanted to crew with him on his trip around the world. I was immediately interested. And just when they were typing a polite declination, I said, hang on, tell me about it. And when they explained that this guy was sailing around the world, I said, "Whoa, no, hang on." Text him back, tell him I'm interested. I want to go. Don't say no to opportunities that fall on your lap. If someone asks you if you want to sail around the world with them, you say yes. And so we went. My friends joined me the first 2 to 3 months, and just like that, I was part of the 2023-2024 World Arc Rally, and I sailed around the world. I did it in 16 months as crew on 4 different boats, 2 monohulls and 2 catamarans. I visited 25 countries and saw things I never thought I'd see. From volcanoes and coral reefs, cities and remote islands, atolls and deserts. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the happiest I've ever been. And now I'm home, and I'm back at work, and I'm in my 30s. The decade where you will set up how you live the rest of your life. And that's where this channel comes in. This is a sailing channel. Now, if you've watched those before, you know the general premise they have. Solo sailor / couple buy boat, usually with no money or no experience, and the boat is in bad disrepair, and they spend a lot of time or money fixing it up, and they document the perils of learning how to sail, and they get the boat going, and they show you all the cool places that they go. But how do they do that? How do they just buy a boat with no experience? Or how do they get the money to buy a boat? How do you start? That is what this channel is all about. And yes, I know I just explained how I spent the last 1.5 years sailing around the world. I have about 27,000 nautical miles under my belt, so no, I'm not inexperienced. But on paper I am. In the eyes of insurance companies, I'm sure I most definitely am. I have no formal qualifications. I have no connections to the local sailing community. I've never even sailed in Canada before. So this channel is going to be my very own journal where I record all the work I put in to achieve this newfound dream. And the dream? I want to own my own sailboat and sail around French Polynesia and eventually anywhere in the world that I want to go. And I want to set up my life so that I can do this in retirement. I'm going to skip the buy a decrepit boat and disrepair and fix it up phase. I already sailed on one of those. It was great and terrible. Cross it off my list. I know what I want. And sailing on the World Arc with retired couples and their gorgeous sailboats, it made me realize that if I want to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to get a sailboat worthy of a life goal. I have my heart set on a modern luxury catamaran. I want air conditioning and Starlink. I want an ice maker and a dive compressor tank and my own set of scuba gear. All the amenities that I experienced sailing with other people. Amenities that I found took your worst days and made them manageable, and then took your best days and made them experiences you'd never forget. And I believe that I can set these expectations and aim for whatever I want because I'm starting now. So this is my plan. I'm going to do all the work it takes to make this dream a reality, and I'm going to document it all here so I can look back on what I've accomplished and be proud of myself. But also, if you're interested in boat ownership and seeing the realities of getting into it, then I think this may be of interest to you. Or if you just want to cheer me on, I appreciate that too. In the upcoming videos, I will be showing my plan to achieve this. I'll set budgets and estimates for the boat, all the amenities I want, the upfront and hidden costs, but then I'll also be researching and going over all the associated costs, like the certifications and the training, the boat purchasing and insurance part, the small and large instruments it takes to fit an offshore cruising vessel, all of it. And I've never owned a boat before, so I'll be learning this all for the first time. I'll also be showing how I'm preparing for these costs. My savings plan, where I look at my income and my expenses, and I can map out how I can save up money and make smart choices, so that when I am ready to buy a boat, I can purchase a catamaran that provides comfort and minimal maintenance when comparing it to an older monohull that is much cheaper. I can also explain why I've decided to go for a catamaran. If you're interested in the difference between the two, there's a lot of really good content already out there comparing the difference between a catamaran and a monohull. But for me, it's mainly the fact that none of my friends or family sail, and I want them to visit me and be comfortable. And I enjoy the privacy and separation that comes from a catamaran. This was learned firsthand after sleeping on a couch on a monohull for a year and then upgrading to my own bedroom and bathroom on a catamaran. So that's it. That's the channel. That is the whole premise of the thing. So if you're curious and want to see what comes next, if you could do me a favor and hit subscribe, tell your friends and family or people you know who might be interested in sailing. Anything helps. I currently have 1 subscriber and it's my sister. Another favor I'd like to ask is if you have any ideas of things that you think are particularly helpful that I should look into, whether it was something you learned as a boat owner that surprised you, or something you've been curious about, if you could leave me a comment, I'd love to learn more about it and be pointed in the right direction. I can't wait. This has been so fun to get into and learn video editing. I feel like I've developed a whole new skill. And because this channel is first and foremost for me, I am going to be documenting the YouTube side of things, starting the channel up and learning how to become a YouTuber. So not all the content will be about sailing, but it'll all point towards my final goal. So if that's something you're also interested in, enjoy those videos. Otherwise, I'll make sure to separate them into separate playlists once I figure out how that works. All right, I'm done. Get lost.